Yeah, man. I'm good to record.
So yeah, it's been just a little bit, but it's all good, man. When you're getting your thing in and you got business going and family and everything, man, and just comes with it.
Yeah, man. It's been a big journey since the last time we talked. You kind of saw me come in with my whole family doing
Yeah,
the wholesaling route.
right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, man.
yeah, we're gonna get into it definitely for sure. So, shout out to everybody here on IG Live. Glad to have you guys. Everybody that's listening to the podcast, wherever you get your pods, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast, and certainly when you go to champ10k.com. Shout out to my guy Darius Baskin, good, actually an agent and flipper here, buys deals from me when
Nice.
I'm in the wholesale mode. So always glad to have him in the house. Everybody else, like our guest said, definitely let us know that you can hear if you're joining on IG Live. Let us know that you can hear us. Put some comments in there, and definitely make sure you connect with Cameron, our guest today, Cameron J, joining us, Castle Day Cameron on IG. We're going to talk about that a little bit too, man. But
Yeah, man.
listen, man, this is episode number 277 of the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's still no business like minding your own. Man, we made it here to episode 277. So glad to have you guys, man. And like I said, man, my guest, Cameron J, joins us, 26 years old there in the state of North Carolina. Has been wholesaling and investing in real estate for going on 2 years now. And he's working on many different projects. One of them that's been where he has tremendous really value, and it's been for my business and many others, is in the data piece. And we're going to talk about that because you guys know, and you've heard from me that data is really everything. It's the crutch, it's the genesis of your business. If you've got bad data, think about any part of your life. If you've got bad data, it doesn't matter how good you are or how talented. If you've got bad data, right? If you go into situations with bad information, the outcome is probably going to be not that good, or it's going to take you a lot to make it good. And so, Cameron and his team do a great job, and they're dedicated to, providing great data for those of us in the real estate piece. And I've been able to make money from it, but not just that. I've been able to, help change lives and help connect with many other really dope people in the process. And so, his willingness to share that's been great. And he's also in the tech space as well. We're going to talk about that from the crypto standpoint and that sort of thing, man. But listen, Cameron, I'm glad to have you, brother, man. It's always great to see you. Like I said, we don't get a chance to talk often, but when we do, man, it's always lit. I always learn from you, brother. And it's great to have you.
Likewise, man. 277 is a big number, man. It's a little nerve-wracking to be on this big of a platform with this many episodes, brother. But
Yeah.
funny enough, too, man, I've known your voice better than I've known your face, man. We've been on Clubhouse for, man, daggone, it was like back to back, like 7 months,
Yeah.
straight. Doing a
Yeah,
lot, man.
absolutely.
Just hearing each other's voices, bro. We got to know each other like through this pandemic. That was pretty cool. The relationships we formed. And again, man, I appreciate the support and allowing me to be up here speaking my piece.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And that's what the podcast is all about, bro. So we're certainly glad to have you, man, and glad to have you be a part of it. Again, it's really dope. And I'm very appreciative of you taking time out to be with us, brother, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about Clubhouse, man, because that's kind of where
Cool.
we kind of got our introduction. You said something that I think is really powerful. One of the benefits of Clubhouse, which is the ability to kind of synthesize and put out the spoken voice. And like you said, we got to know each other through voice before even really getting a chance. You and I haven't had the chance to formally meet, but we've had the chance to speak on many different occasions, and whether it's one-on-one and on Clubhouse, man. So, kind of talk about that, your thoughts on Clubhouse and kind of that benefit of, being able to talk to people and get to know them through their voice.
Yeah. It's been so good for my personal life and the business life altogether. I went to a Pace Morby event a couple of days ago, actually, and I saw him up in Raleigh. And it was the craziest thing to have people recognize my voice. Of course, with Instagram, you kind of see my face, but this lady pulls me aside. She's like, "Are you Cameron from Clubhouse?" And I was like, "What?" And my wife was standing right there. And I'm not one to be recognized. I mean, by far, man, what I do is mostly work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an influencer. I guess yet or whatever. And dude, I swear, man, we chopped it up. What I started doing with Clubhouse was cold calling. Right after her conversation, though, talking about cold calling in Clubhouse, literally a guy named Steven walks up, and I kind of recognized him from Clubhouse. But he's like, "Yo, are you Cameron from Clubhouse?" And I was like, "Dude, stop!" Like back to back. And it was weird because the lady that was there, her name was Shy,
Yeah.
and she, it was kind of a mutual thing. Like, we went to take a photo, and so I felt like the first little itty bitty recognition, like kind of like celebrity status. I took a photo with what to me was a random stranger, in an event that wasn't even for me. So that was kind of interesting. And Clubhouse was the catalyst for me being able to meet people like you, man, people doing greater things than I'm doing. So I could like kind of continue to work towards where I want to be. And Clubhouse it was something that I just recognized from first hearing about it. And it's kind of been like a common theme throughout my life. When I see something as innovative as Clubhouse, very early on, I was like, okay, trying to think of ideas to formulate to make it work towards my benefit. And
Yeah.
ultimately that's what ended up happening, dude. We all came through the tail end of COVID and really got to know each other, and we all found amazing niches. And that's what I thought was so cool about Clubhouse. And it still is. I think that there's a little bit of a falling off. It really felt the need of the market, had the need of the market met.
Right.
But what we all did was we revolutionized that time. With me, with the cold calling, strictly no fluff. This is the business. A lot of people recognized me, heard me get cussed at, heard me, do deals over the app. And it was so interesting. It wasn't just about the fame or just talking to talk,
Right.
which I kind of feel like, if you ask me about my opinion these days and why I'm not super active on there, I will probably do some stuff here and there, but it's going to be very specific with like cold calling and just acquisition stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people nowadays is just to talk, which is still cool if everybody wants to, do that. But with us, man, we had the book club, we had the cold calling, we had the deal analysis, we had it was somewhat of a accountability group. It was accountability, but it was also like just strategy with Ty and
Right.
them. It was
Yeah.
crazy. We like locked down every day of the week. It was locked, and then we had the fun days. We just like, man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I'm with you there 1,000%, Cam, man. I think that coming out of the the lockdown, right? I think
Yeah.
you couldn't have got any better, more impeccable timing. I think with Clubhouse and the way it was released and the way it started, which this kind of one-to-one kind of audio piece that that it wasn't that was such a unique concept. It's just the format that they put it in made it so unique at that time. And so getting a chance to meet folks like you even early on on the app, man, and you were dope to people. I mean, one of the first rooms, I'll never forget it, man. One of the first rooms, you and we didn't know each other. I mean, I don't think we had ever even spoken. And you
No.
were in a room, and Radimus and Ruthie, and shout out to them. They were in a room, and I felt your heart when you were pouring into them, and then your willingness to provide service to them and kind of donate service to them in terms of data, which we'll get to. And I was compelled by that I jumped in. I said, I had you on mute, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, well, man, I don't know this guy. I don't know how he's going to take this, but I was like, I'll just take a shot. And I was like, man, I want to jump in that with him, because I mean, that's really dope. He's willing to be that giving like that. And so that allowed me to, meet you and meet other people on the app. And you're right, man. It just kept kind of going. And then eventually, as it opened up and, the world opened back up, and then Clubhouse opened up, and, now I'm starting to see some of the spam. I got my first bot that reached out to me in the back channel. If you can believe that, wanting me to jump on Forex.
Yeah, so you're talking stuff that I don't even know. Back channel, money donation, links up top. Like I jump on now and I'm like, it's like light years, man. I'm like, hey, technology evolves fast. But to touch on what you had just hit on with the day we first interacted, I think that's a very powerful statement, because that was where I also realized my niche. I'm data at heart, especially knowing good quality data.
Yeah.
And so when I realized the niche of what Clubhouse was and what the go giving value I have, it was like, well, if I come on here and I truly believe in the product, and we can hit on that later, that I use, and data is always one of the hardest things to really wrap your mind around in the beginning, especially affording it. I like gave that away, and not that I'm like balling out of control, but I figured, hey man, like $10 worth of data, it's enough to stop the excuses.
Yeah.
And so with enough to stop the excuses, you were like so supportive. And it wasn't a matter of like how I was going to take it. That just shows your character, because you were like, I'll match it. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like now we can have a community. And ultimately, without really having to say it, we all know that that kind of stuff provides clout. But as long as you're a genuine go-giver person, you know, it's like you're paying the $10, which is kind of like ad space, how I viewed it. And then
Right.
you matched it, which your clout went up. And then that ultimately shows that we're both go-givers, and, you know, we're really there for the people, beginning, middle, and end. I mean, there's been people that have probably been doing this for 15 years plus. I don't have like a list of them, but they've been like, oh, that was kind of cool. I didn't think about it that way. Or I didn't know that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm providing a small amount of value. And then of course, if you just stick with those people, they actually end up teaching you stuff. And that's was another cool byproduct of it. But with that being said, man, your character showed so much. And we have had a lot of just phone conversations off platform
Yeah.
that were so amazing. It really allowed us to see where our values aligned.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, okay, Champ is this way on platform, he's also this way off platform.
Right.
And it was a checks and balance, because, man, not to air out dirty laundry, but we had a lot of like-minded conversations about things that we felt were this or that. And it was cool, man. Like one of these days we are going to link up, either do a deal together or just have a beer, man. Something like that.
Well, yo, I'm coming out there. I'm doing some business with actually a company out in Durham, North Carolina. Startup fintech company that's out that way. So probably in the first quarter next year, I'm gonna be out that way. So I'm gonna hit you up, man, and take you up on that beer, man.
Dude, yeah, man. I'm actually moving out towards Charlotte, but I will do.
Oh, yeah.
I'll drop whatever, man, to go and hang out, man, because this state is so amazing, and to host someone like you out here, bro, I'm gonna take that opportunity for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And so let's shift gears just a little bit, because we want to get into some like your background, bro, and just kind of how you got to where you are and that sort of thing, man. Because, you know, one of the things I've always respected you for is just the heart of which you operate, man. You know, you always, you know, we're genuine, you know, and like you mentioned, for myself, I'll reciprocate that. You know, Cameron's Cameron wherever you go. Like there's no like, you know, different, you know what I mean? Cameron's wherever you go, off mic, whatever room it is, whatever, you know, he's always showing love. He's there and he's just real. I mean, and we could get into a lot of specific instances, man, where, you know, you were just real about stuff where maybe others didn't quite understand, you know, or maybe even appreciate that at that time, bro. So, you know, just definitely want to shout you out for that. No doubt.
Yeah, dude. When you say it about yourself, it kind of, I guess, takes away the impactfulness, but I do pride myself on being that genuine at my own detriment. I understand playing the game, saying stuff, not saying stuff, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing for me, which really holds true about the data thing too, and I will keep alluding to it, but I cannot stand when someone's being taken advantage of, because I wouldn't want to be in that situation. And so the stuff that you and I have kind of talked about and even gone through and seen, I've been so abrasive about it, because right is right, wrong is wrong.
Right.
And there's a lot of gray in between, but for me, this is my black and my white. And I've expressed that publicly, and it's never had a negative thing for me. It's just, you know, real, recognize real. And that statement has been, you know, fought through when I've saw people get a deal taken from them. I've put up money in to just keep people afloat. I've given data away. I've opened up Google Drives. I mean, there's no secret to me.
Right.
And at the end of the day, not even at the end of the day, point is, I was in a mastermind recently too. And there was a billionaire that was talking about this, the age old question. If you hit $1 billion, people want to know, how do you make $1 billion? And what I took away from that very lengthy conversation was unwavering ethics and values, which is like, I already felt that way. Hearing it from someone at that level, it's just, okay, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
You know, I've even felt ashamed too, my past, where I am not perfect, but I felt pretending to be in a situation or pretending to be a certain way that I'm not. So I'm with those it people, but that's not true to me. And as I've hit, you know, 24, 25, 26, of course, being an entrepreneur, I just rather miss out on those crappier opportunities, even if they look all golden and stuff like that, just to be sticking with the people that are real, or I can perceive real and be who I want to be. It's so cliche, but golly, man, if that's not the truth, like my truth. So yeah, man.
Yeah, man, no
But
doubt. And I want to shout out some folks that have been with us, man. Steven out in California, man, out in LA. Teen Ambition, definitely on Instagram. Definitely good to see you, young brother, man, and hope things are going well for you. Someone that works on my team, Tabitha. Tabitha Ayers is out here. All things tabs. She's there on Instagram, and she works on my team here in Memphis and does a great job, finding, some really dope property opportunities. So I actually need to follow up
nice.
with her. She was viewing one with, some contractors and some buyers actually this morning. So I actually need to follow up with her, but definitely shout
Yeah,
out to her.
let me share a quick story with you too, man,
Yeah, man.
about Tennessee,
Yeah.
because there was my biggest problem, and what I think was really starting to drive me away from a little bit of social media for this last 6 months is like, once you start building up a reputation for yourself, you get a lot of people that come out of the woodworks. You got that bot but I had a lot of people come out of the woodworks.
Right.
And what really bothers me is that I've had to actually tone down people I talk to, because it's like a lot of BS, a lot of like, I wish, I shoulda, I coulda, or I want, all that kind of stuff. And I dropped
Right.
it. And so there's a dude that just dropped in the live. I'm not sure if he's here or not, but his name's Udo. I want to shout him out. This kid, man, hit me up when he was 17, like
Wow.
almost as I started getting into Clubhouse. All I had was text messages on Instagram with him. And I started to really turn up the BS meter. Like, all right, man, regardless of age, like, you're going to do it or you're not,
Right.
and I'm here every step of the way. As long as you're not like taking advantage of me, I'm here every step of the way. And he would like hit me up, and I would give him the respect of like answering the questions. But at my heart of heart, I was like, man, he kind of seems like that kind of person. It's just not going to take action. But if I have the time, I've said this multiple times. It was even like in my story one time, I was like, if I have the time, I'll get back to you. If I don't, I'm sorry. Catch me when I can.
Right. Right.
But he was one of those people that I gave some good amount of time to. Congratulations to him. I mean, this kid I didn't know any of this. He was living in Nigeria, and he had hit me up saying, dude, I have like 30 days to get a deal done. And I'm like,
Wow.
then do it. I'm like, do it. I either you're using the data that I use, I'll keep alluding to it, or you're
Right.
not, but just do it. Get the dialer, stop making excuses, and be beyond what you're putting yourself at right now. And so within 10 days and some change, he messaged me. He got a solid deal in Knoxville, a little bit south of Knoxville.
Yeah.
The kid's about to make $19,000. I have to follow up with him, but I mean, dude, like, Tennessee is good. And I was so impressed. I finally called him, and he was like, I'm in Nigeria. I live out here. I'm like 18. And I was like, hey man, screw all that. You just done a solid deal, man. Like,
Right.
congratulations. So, I want to add that too publicly. Like, if you guys reach out to me, I'm totally down to like, talk with you. Like, we can hit it off. We may talk about other stuff, but I've been cutting out the BS like a lot. And it may be out to my own detriment, but to kids like him, man, and young adults and even older adults, bro, like, if I have value and I give, and you guys are totally like taking it and using it, I have no problem sitting on there for 30 minutes to an hour, like, strategizing. But all you BSers out there, man, stop. Do
Yeah.
something with your life,
Yeah. Hey, you heard the message. I echo that 100,000%. And my guy Andre Harris, shout out to you. He's out there here in Memphis. I got Noah Wilder up in
Dude, Noah's
Cleveland,
awesome.
Ohio. Man,
Yeah.
super dope, man. Super, just tremendous brother, man, and love to see his work. You mentioned Ty earlier. Ty Franklin's doing his thing, and like I say, those early days of Clubhouse, man, where people were kind of early in their walk, their real estate walk, and man, to me, it one of the joys that I get, and I've been doing this now for some time, right? One of the joys that I get, Cam, is being able to see people progress and grow the business the way that they want to, right, on their own terms.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that I always gravitate, because I used to say it in rooms, and it was real, that, and you know how this is, man. That you talked about clout. There's people. There are people that stack rank a lot of times with people, and they think that, oh well, a newbie person in real estate, is different than this person that's been doing it 20, 30 years. And I never gravitated to those rooms that quote unquote like people perceive as being big, right? Or these people that have been doing it a long time. One of the things is I always like to keep myself fresh and innovative, right? And I never like to look at myself as, just because you've been doing it a long time doesn't mean you're doing everything right. It doesn't mean that you can't still learn. One of the dynamic things about business and real estate altogether is that it's always changing. It's dynamic. And I think if you get stuck in your own ways, you become the old fogey that we always talk about, the get off my lawn guy. You know what I mean? You don't want to become that in business or in real estate. And so one of the reasons I always like to be around, people that were kind of young in their walk is they had this freshness, this energy, right? And like you brought like that data piece and the appreciation of how to utilize data and how to synthesize it so that you can make decisions from it, right? And I saw a benefit of that. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit when we talk about like skip tracing and things like that. Appreciating that data. Sometimes people that have been doing something for a long time get stuck in their way, and this is the way I've always done it. But then they're not seeing the results, right? You can BS on Clubhouse all you want, but they're not really seeing the results in real life. And so, man, I was able to see results working with you and others, just from the platform, and I never cared. So I didn't care about whether you started last week, whether you started in 1901. Like I said, I'd say that all the time. It didn't matter to me because I always was picking up something and learning, and my business is what it is today as a result of that, man. Real talk.
Yeah. And I would get this tattooed on my forehead. My wife says it a lot, and I say it a lot myself, but trust but verify. And I lead with that because, these big dogs, little dogs, everybody is talking to you. And I look at it like this. I'm so receptive to everything. And younger me would be like, no, and have these like brick walls because I thought I knew what I was doing. But it's crazy when I'm still fairly new and I haven't even reached my stride, I would feel like, especially with what I want in every avenue that I'm approaching right now. But I say something and they're like, yeah, okay, everybody's saying that. I'm like, okay, well, hold on. And then I give them the examples, and we could touch on this like, we're about to, but
yeah,
I was recently telling somebody who, dude, I'm like, you have to just test it out. No, that's what everybody says. Hey, fine, whatever. For me, if you're telling me something's new and innovative, I always trust but verify. If it's crappy, it shows how you are, or it shows that you're maybe not all the way educated.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of people on Clubhouse that were so shut down, and you were definitely one of those open to at least testing it. My boy Noah is another way like that too, man. That's why I think I look up to him a lot too, because he's not like, okay, I'm just going to do it, or no, I'm not going to do it. He's like, let's try it out. Those are the people I want to be around, because even then, if I find out it's not good, I will have people come back to me and say, hey, it didn't work like this. And I'm like, oh, maybe you're missing a piece. And we'll kind of talk about it without having any kind of like negativity. So yeah, man, trust but verify. It's big for me, and it keeps the world fresh. It keeps the world creative and open. And I think it allows us to have a better approach, towards one another. If we're not just throwing up these brick walls and trying to just stay stuck in our ways,
Yeah,
so
no doubt. No doubt about it, man. No doubt. But let's get to it, man. For your background, Cameron, man, talk to us a little bit about, kind of your upbringing, coming to, I know you're a military veteran, so if you want to get into that, we definitely, can a little bit, but, what kind of, motivated you kind of, through your, kind of early life and now in the business, what's kind of been your journey, bro?
So I come from Southern California. I come from like an offshoot of Los Angeles. Not a lot of people know of San Bernardino or San Bernardino County. And I will say that I only had one ambition, and that was to do jiu-jitsu, which is a sport that I've been doing for a very long time. My mom and the recruiter that I was talking to at the time were very reluctant to just let me just go off. And I was thinking of literally sleeping on the gym floor, just like training and training and training. But there was no end goal. It was not even professional for me either. It was just, I want to do it, which nowadays I'm really glad I didn't just go that route. It was so selfish, to where my mom had put me in contact with a recruiter. We stayed in contact, and then I signed an agreement. I think I was still 17 at the time. I graduated high school, off to basic training. I go to basic training, love-hate relationship. I loved how fun it was. I hated how under control of somebody else I was. So I ended up doing my time. I got out and I moved to California, and went back to California. And my wife, who we've pretty much been together since high school, so coming up almost on 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. We ended up moving in together at her parents' house, and just focusing on things. What I was explaining to her was like, hey, the Army pays for schooling. So if you want to do school, and that's all I was thinking about, we talked about it. She ended up enlisting herself. She goes to basic training, and I ended up moving out towards North Carolina with her. We got married, And all I'm thinking is school. I'm thinking like the one benefit is like guaranteed pay. You just have school for the rest of your life. Well, because these are things I didn't even understand after I got out, but when she got out, we started noticing, or sorry, she was still in, we got a hold of the VA loan, which is like one of the most powerful loans in the United States.
Whew,
Unfortunately,
no
it's not available to everybody. I think that, in my personal opinion, I think there really should be a bigger requirement for people to serve for America, but that's just my personal belief. Look what you get though. You got this amazing loan of 0% down. So we are like maybe a year and some change in North Carolina. And we were so sick of paying rent. I just knew in my heart of heart that paying $1,200 rent was stupid, when if I buy an $80,000 house, I could pay like $500, which turned out to be true way before this market. So the funny part is, the agent that we had, it was like pick a name out of the hat type of thing. And all right, just show us whatever. We didn't know. We kind of knew, but we didn't. So she ends up selling us the first house she showed us, which ended up being her listing. So she was kind of like, these guys, you know?
Right.
But it turned out to be the best investment I've made, you know, with a loan. I've done a lot of creative stuff, which have been awesome, but it ended up appreciating. And so after I got into that, the house owning space, a buddy of mine showed me wholesaling. I had been bouncing from entrepreneur thing to another, and I owned a business. I lost a business. I was working on e-commerce, and it was like flippy floppy.
Yeah.
When I got into wholesaling, I was like, holy crap, this has got to be the coolest thing ever. And I got obsessed with it. I will admit, I didn't do my best my first year, even like my first half a year. I was so into this, like trying to change it, which that's how my brain is. And it's a sacrifice of mine that I have to constantly work on, to say, listen, if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's a personal struggle of mine. And I'll say, if anybody out there listening to that has that, hit me up, because I've learned a couple ways to cope with that.
Yeah.
Once I got on board and I learned that I should just do the principles and then innovate along with it, that's when it started taking off. That's when I was like, oh, you can't change it. Okay, go with it. And that's a whole other conversation.
No doubt.
But with the VA loan, I then realized I had a VA loan that I could use after my wife's, and then I used that one. It was just like snowball. And so now we're sitting at about 5 rental properties. We did that and I will say, like, my first year of wholesaling, we kind of like forget about that, but we did like 5 properties in 2 years. And me and my boy Noah in Cleveland are, once it's tied up, we're about to pick up a lot more. So it's just snowballing. Once you stick to the principles, you learn. You don't try to innovate. You innovate on areas that you know you can confidently. Yeah. It was a blessing. And that allowed me to, you know, make a bunch of money, spend a lot of money, figure out how to not spend a lot of money, and continue to grow. And so now we sit here and I'm working on, you know, 3 businesses, one that's the wholesaling, and then 2 that I'm really focused on. But again, another word to the wise, everybody, it's the one thing, but I'm also not following that. I really have passion for these 3 things, and so I'm nurturing them, but wholesaling has been the driver.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you talked about, you know, data. That's been kind of part of our conversation, you know, kind of through that. So let's jump into that, because when you look at data, whether it's wholesaling or really in anything, right, in any kind of wholesale business, no matter what your exit strategy is, if you've got sound, accurate data that you can get quickly and synthesize, it goes such a long way. And, you know, going back to what we talked about from a character standpoint, your willingness as you got involved, you know, with Skip Matrix, and I'd like for you to speak a little bit, you know, kind of about that, your involvement with them and how you've edified that company, man. You know, to be able to, you know, to get access to sound data. And again, it's on the person, right, on how they interpret the data and how they utilize it. But the access to sound, accurate data is huge, man. And I think people, if they didn't appreciate that early on, they were able to, right? Because whether you were, like we talked about Clubhouse, you're doing, you know, cold calling rooms and all that type of thing. The key to that is having good data, right? Because that's the whole key to getting linked up, getting yourself one-on-one with a seller or owner of record of a property, so that then you can have a conversation, right? And so oftentimes, you know, you saw people that were starting out, they were having challenges in that area. It was with, you know, a lot of their challenges were rooted in data. or the lack thereof. And even people who had some experience or some seasonality in real estate, one of their struggles and why deals weren't maybe flowing the way they thought that they should, or they're not talking to the right people, right, went back to data. So talk to us about just that overall appreciation, bro, about data, particularly in real estate, and then how you were able to get involved with this great company. Because I'll tell you, the service of the company, and again, I've told you this off mic, and I've told other people, the service of the company has been really good. The email timely, you get information timely. But I'm able to go and plug it into my other software, and to this day I'm still using lists that I skip traced
Dude, that's the point.
some time back. So one of the things I learned, right, quite frankly, was I was in this mode of constantly getting new lists, right? I need a new list. And I started looking back. I was like, shit, man, I've got I'm sitting here and I've got 2,500 contacts I haven't even reached out to, because all I was doing like a dumbass was just getting new lists. I need new data. And it's like, I've got gold right here. So that's what I've been working these last several months, really. My team and I, Tabitha's out there, is reaching out to, these contacts that I had out there that I already had put in place with the help of Skip Matrix, but just had not reached out to call, right? Because I was just piling on. So man, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this, bro.
Hey man, this is literally the secret sauce. This is going to take your guys' business from a Sunday podcast into like a mega Monday. And here's the secret sauce. I'm being serious, man. I mean,
yeah.
Regardless, if you look at me, and I'm going to say this with all respect, and you sit me next to like a Grant Cardone or a JT Fox, right? These guys are just Goliaths in their industry. What I'm about to say is legitimate, actionable. Okay. If you pay me, if you go to my DMs right now, you guys can buy my course for $5.99. None of that BS. What this is if you guys want to stop spending money, and turning and burning is the term I use, you're going to go with the provider. And currently there's literally second to none, which is Skip Matrix. You guys are going to use their services, and what they're going to give you is a lot more data you're going to get with any other kind of insert name, skipwhatever.com.
Yeah.
So the reason why this is important, and especially if I could go back to Cameron that was just starting out and use this service, what it would do for me, it would give me the confidence to know that at least any little budget that I have is going to go to a well-quality list. And I'm going to be able to maximize the ability to talk to home sellers, know where my money is going, know the quality that I'm getting, and not feel like I'm being gypped. And I swear to you, there's an influencer out there. I mean, you guys have seen his YouTube videos. I can guarantee it. Early on, I was so nervous to spend any money. I mean, my wife's going like, you're like scamming homeowners, aren't you? And I'm like, no. I just need to buy their phone number.
Right.
I went to this influencer, said, hey man, like, you got a discount code? And this dude was like, man, they don't have discount code for Ferraris. And I'm thinking like, that's a bold statement, man. That means that your data quality is comparable to a Ferrari, which is Ferrari compared to a Honda, right?
Right.
And it turned out it was nothing other than a white labeled company. I mean, literally, I say that with 70% confidence because I don't know. But when you really split test things, which is taking two similar lists and just calling on it, you can easily figure out, this is the same stuff I'm getting everywhere else.
Right.
So with Skip Matrix, what that allowed me to do is say, okay, slow down on my budget. You don't need to drop like $30,000 a month in your wholesale business. You could buy a list and use it like what I call the wet towel example. If you throw a wet towel in a pool and you pull it out and you wring it out, you're going to get a lot of water the first time. This list allows you to wring it out multiple times in multiple different segments, which I'll go into right now, to where that sucker's bone dry. And those are your deepest prospects. Those are the people you need to go and really dig for. And I'll give you guys the secret sauce. Okay, no more fluff. What you do is you buy a list from Skip Matrix. I highly recommend 1,000 to 2,000. That's a good starter. That's going to keep you very busy.
Yeah.
What you're going to do, and here's the process.
And that's skipmatrix.com, right?
Skipmatrix.com. You guys, if you guys want to hit me up for the discount code, you guys can.
Yeah.
But you're going to go to skipmatrix.com. You're going to load up your CSV file. They're going to run it through their proprietary software that's going to clean it up and make sure that you guys have the best quality data on the back end. But when you get it back, here's where the action happens. take that list, you're going to cut it up. You're going to have the subject owner, and it's immediately going to tell you if they're alive or dead. If you guys turn off the podcast right now, turn off the IG live and just do that alone, you're going to save yourselves so much time because you're not talking to people that are up there with my ancestors, all right, up there with your ancestors. We're talking to humans now, people that have the ability to answer the phone. So you're going to call the subject owner, and you're going to verify that they're alive. You're going to ignore the subject owner that is deceased. And then next thing you know, you're going to have another column, and it's going to be the subject owner's relative number 1. Again, that will be on the alive side. Then you're going to have the relative 1 of the deceased side. Those have up to 5 phone numbers, and those go all the way back about 5 columns. So relatives 1 through 5, but it doesn't stop there. You're also going to have the associates 1 through 5. Those are individuals that may be a past renter. They may be a very distant relative, and sometimes it may be like the ex-wife for all of those playboys out there. So, or ex-husbands for that matter.
Right.
Okay. So the reason why this is important is that if you guys have any lack of confidence in this business and you guys are willing to put up 15 cents for what is literally the best quality data, and you want to stack it with another insert name, skip.com, whatever, I will put my name, my personal brand behind it, which I've tested. For me, it's always like a 4 to 5 to 1, sometimes 4 to 0. We'll have really crappy data that comes back. And we got 4 prospects out of it where it doesn't end there. And this is the fun part.
Yeah.
If you guys are at all on track with what I'm saying, we take 2 lists, skip trace it with crappy company over here, and we skip trace it with skip matrix. It only stops when the crappy company's data is done. With skip matrix, you have, again, the subject owner, relative all the way through. The process that I do is I run that through the Zen call or any dialer system a few times, really ring it out, transfer my dispositional data, like they answered, they said yes or no. And then the list will kind of go from like this. It will start to dwindle.
Yes.
Everybody at the end, every single person at the end that you've never been able to hit by their relatives or anything, those are the individuals you spend a lot more time digging. All right. The deep prospecting, like Tyler Austin uses, the method it's called. And that's where the fun begins. And that alone can keep you busy for so long. The other caveat with that is to really be that A player is to take all of that and make sure you're not double skipping the next time.
Right.
Vacancy is a vacancy, right? If you pulled it on this date, you might pull it again and the record shows up again. Making sure, and I don't want to really recommend anybody, just everybody go out there, do your research. Make sure you don't double skip. That's just you burning money.
Yes.
If you guys can follow those kind of processes and hit me up in my DMs to explain it further, I actually detail it out in like Excel files, like in Google Docs. So you guys can get the whole process maps from me. This will save you money and make sure that you're not just burning money, because it's very hard to be a new wholesaler, a new investor. So yeah, man, that's the whole process from, the data side of it. Right.
Yeah. And you gave us something, extremely practical too, man. In terms of an exact process. So, MYB community, I hope that you took notes. And if you go back, listen to the section that Cameron just went through, where he gave a very practical step that you can take in terms of being able to get the data, quickly synthesize it, get it into your dollar, that sort of thing. But don't forget, because oftentimes here's something I was doing specifically where I was missing opportunity. I was only going for the first number, so you skip with, like Cameron said, you skip with crappy company, right? You think you get 3 numbers, just say, for example, and like most people, naturally as people, we hone in on that first column and we only call that first column, right? Or we only spend any time with that first column. We don't spend any time with, as Skip Matrix provides you with, information on, various levels of relatives, right? And people close to the owner of record. I wasn't doing that in my business. Keep in mind, again, I started in business 2007. I wasn't doing that. 2021, I wasn't doing that. And so, I'm just sharing that with you just so that people know, it's not fluff or BS. It's just, I wasn't doing it. And when I went back and as it was being shared with me, I could just get upset about it, because, I could think about how many, months and years of data that I wasted, or that I just missed opportunities. And you look at it and you say, it was not just about the economics of it. It's, who did I miss that I could have helped? Right. Because for many of us, we take that fiduciary duty of what we do in business and in real estate, and make it a part of what we do. It's at the fabric or culture of what we do. So, someone missed where I could have helped. Someone may have been in a tough situation I could have helped, that I wasn't there because I wasn't thinking holistically. Right. And so that's where the benefit of connecting with people who can say, hey, here's a process in a way that, you can maximize, you don't have to keep churning and burning. And I'm guilty as anybody of double skipping. Let me tell you that.
As am I, man.
I'm guilty of, I've probably taken one address and beat the horse to death with skipping it, and probably skipped it 5 or 6 times in a year. And so, like you said, it's a waste of time, waste of resources. And so we appreciate Cameron, man, you sharing that, bro.
Well, and it goes so much further. I mean, one of these days, man, I'm about ready to just put a course out. I mean, I've stopped that thought for so long. So I feel like everybody just gets their feet wet and they're like, all right, here's my course. What I want to really focus on is like, you guys got a very holy hose. Okay. It's just leaking water and you're just running to like, make sure it's taped up and effectively, processing. Yeah. So that is simply today. The only thing that I really want you to focus on is like really sit down and introspectively think, is the person I'm skipping with the best company? And if you even have 1% thinking of no, split test it. All right. Split test it with Skip Matrix. Just do that. Now we take this step further, just, like an iceberg, right? You have these layers, it goes deep. Then separate it by alive and dead. If you really are a maniac, you're going to separate to 21 campaigns you could call through. And then it goes even further than that. I mean, this is advanced stuff now. When you get to the end, you guys, you're getting the phone numbers, you're getting the USPS validated mailing addresses for these addresses. So you could throw a piece of mail their way. You're also getting their emails. You can shoot them an email. You could combine those in just a natural blast for your local market. You may catch some people, you may not. You could text message. I mean, now we're just getting advanced with it, But just for the fact, at the end of the day, I know I'm not wasting my money. That's enough for me. I mean, back then, now I got really crazy with it and I started getting advanced strategies, but yeah, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Definitely love that. Cameron Jay's our guest today here on episode 277 of the Minding Your Business podcast. And we've got this live all over the place, man. Shout out to people on Facebook, shout out to people on Instagram, everywhere that you guys are watching this, YouTube. Shout out to all of you. Definitely take time to share this. Because this is really tremendous information that we want to make sure gets out there. So definitely do this. Do yourself a favor. Share this within your network, and definitely reach out to Cameron. In the show notes, you can see his social media handles and things like that. Connect with him. Let him know that you heard him right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. Man, as we go through, man, we're getting ready to hit 2022. And all kinds of things. I mean, there's all kind of noise going on with everything, man. How do you keep yourself, focused as best you can, with everything going on? Listen, everybody's, worried about, obviously through the pandemic, you got, obviously the conversation. And that's what a lot of Clubhouse has become. It's so much talk about vaccinations and the pandemic. I see more of those rooms now than I see real estate. People, bickering back and forth about that stuff. How are you?
Everybody must be millionaires by now. If they're talking about that, there must be millionaires. And it's like, hey, we've learned everything we can. That's how I feel about it. And it's not the case. It's not true. Don't believe the hype, whatever. To cut you off with all respect, man.
No, please.
The way I stay focused on it. And I've seen those rooms, and the same reason why I don't really hop on there, but whatever. Stay true to who is really providing value to you, like Champ. If you guys say the same with me, connect with me, stay true to those people, give them the respect, reach out. Most people are approachable these days. To stay focused, turn stuff off. I mean, things have power buttons, guys, but it's easier said than done. I totally get that. Again, I've admitted a lot on this podcast. It's not easy to do these things. But as cliche as it is, and I will stop saying the cliche factor, just start with your why. When you are about to do something as stupid as like checking or scrolling through your Instagram, why are you doing this? For me, it's personally like, I want to make sure my family's wealth, it just never depletes, not for just me. Whatever I make, I want to divide it by every single family member in my family and just like, hey guys, like this is here when times get tough, right? Just beware, watch out for your people that are going to like take your money and then suck you in and all that kind of stuff. But when I'm like really feeling like this is a lot, and I have my mother-in-law asking me, not even just my mother-in-law, but my mother going, where are the grandkids at? Hey guys, do you guys have a lot of money yet? No. Okay, let me do
Right.
my thing. And when it
Right.
gets tough, I just go back to that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I recently was at the Pace Morby event, like I said, and there was a guy there named Diego. I hope he's watching. He had all of the same exact characteristics that I had in like my first 2 weeks. I got to buy this. I got to buy that. Right. That's what everybody says I have to do. Right. And I let him speak his piece. Just sat there with a very condescending smile, but like, dude, I feel for you. Right. I really feel for him. And he was buying everything and he was just totally confused. I said, dude, chill, stop. Just make the phone calls, forget the distractions, easier said than done. Then his
Right.
wife walks up and his wife goes, yeah, like we're really just doing this for our 2 kids. And I said, perfect. So every time you want to pull your debit card out, put the debit card right in front of your kids' face and say, like, okay, is this whatever you're about to spend money on? Is this more than, their livelihood? The
Right.
answer is most likely no. Dude, I've crushed it with you got to spend money on the data, especially with Skip Matrix. It's literally second to none. Spend the money there, stop, then dial it on Google Voice if you can't afford anything. Dude, come borrow my cell phone and just dial through. I don't
Right.
care to have success, and then you'll learn through the system. Once you make that first 10K, that first 19K, like don't go and blow it. But now your like proof of concept is done. And then you could obviously start upgrading.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so to answer your question with the staying focused part, even lately enough, it's been, focusing back on my why. Uh, Dude, calendars and tasks lists, and that stuff is hard, man, especially for someone like me, but that's
Yeah.
what it takes for me, man. So
Yeah.
that's how I stay focused with all this crazy, nonsense, man.
Yeah. Well, and I'm the same way. I use a calendar a lot. Of course, I'm a big, calendar. I've got Calendly, I've got, Google Calendar, all that type of stuff. But then I try to be very intentional about what I do focus on, right? And which doesn't leave time for a lot of the BS, and that's where, staying focused on, how I can help more people. Right. And so, so who am I talking to? Like for me, I need to always be having some kind of progressive discussion, like this discussion you and I are having now, man. With, people on my team here in Memphis, you know, particularly sellers, that sort of thing, maybe even other wholesalers, of course, buyers, on the buyer list, so I need to always be having those discussions. So if I'm doing that and I'm intentional about that, then it doesn't leave time for me to sit and watch all the, because that stuff, it's going to be there. It's going to be what it's going to be. Right. But other than, of course, for me, having kids, focusing in on them and their activities, which have, of course, multiplied here as they're starting to get a little older. So that's why I was chuckling about what your mom,
Yeah, man.
getting on your back about grandkids. My mom was the same way for a while, until she did get them. But I should have used that same comeback. I hate I didn't have
It's
that
it's
comeback.
totally fine. It's totally fine too, because I'll be I'm my own person. You know what I'm saying? What I say is my truth.
Yeah.
If you guys thoroughly enjoy, you guys and ladies out there thoroughly enjoy, just like, and it's not a waste to you to sit back and you're like, okay, if I'm a solid 6-figure earner, like every couple years, I don't care. Like I want to use my time to be on Clubhouse or just watching YouTube or Netflix. And then you sit on a Zoom call in the most recent mastermind that I joined, and you have like a net worth value of billions. And one guy in that room is a legitimate billionaire. Do you think if you were to tell that guy you're spending 2 hours a day on Clubhouse, he's gonna be like, "Oh, good for you"?
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I did to make $1 billion. Or
Right.
do you think he's gonna have something else to say? Now, again, what Cameron does, what Champron does, and exactly what you're going to do or what you're gonna want to do, but do not get it twisted. Whatever the level of life you want and the effort you're currently putting forward, I guarantee you're gonna need 10 times that. Like it's
Right.
the 10x rule. People can feel how they want about Grant Cardone. I think that the principle of just always give it the 10 times more we would, you can't go wrong, bro.
Right.
You really can't. And
Very true.
so, one thing and this is so funny because it's a checks and balance for me. And again, I struggle with this kind of stuff. But when I was in the Army, I always picked up random pieces of trash around base. I could be literally waiting for the bus to go down post,
Yeah.
and there would be like a gum wrapper. I would just take it. We have these big fat cargo pockets on our side. And I honestly wash my laundry with more trash because I'd be an idiot and forget to dump it. I would always pick it up because I would always just hear stories of like a command sergeant major or a post commander or your own NCOs. They would just see that act. It never came to fruition, but to this day, dude, like if I have the ability to, and again, I miss it now as I'm a civilian and doing stuff like that. I really go that step further and just pick it up because you never know who is watching. And if you're always leading with the correct right of mentality that you want the world to have, like picking up a small piece of trash, as silly as that sounds, you can't believe the amount of rewards. And so that's why with like the whole time thing, if that billionaire was watching me do something like this, he may have, good things to say, but I guarantee you this would be something I'd stand by. Now I'm doing this so I can and at least tell people a little bit about what I do.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I'm not the super biggest influencer, but with just the data piece alone, I hope that impacts just enough people to stop spending their money. And I know that someone at that level, 9 zeros plus, we go, okay, that's pretty commemorable. All right, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing.
Right.
It's my way of picking up a little piece of trash, bro.
I love that connection, man. I love the way you connected those two stories, bro, for sure. So, man, listen, man, this has been an honorable, dope conversation, to say the least, brother. I can't tell you enough. I appreciate you taking time. We're gonna have to do this again because there's so much more we could be getting into. Definitely for sure. But as we come to a close, man, I want to ask you, what you've dropped so many gems today, but I've got to ask you, if there was one thing you could share with somebody, someone's listening to this right now that, is they could be struggling. They could be doing extremely well and seeing a lot of success and everything in between. But what's something that's really worked for you, bro, that you think someone who gets done listening to this podcast to take with them and implement and will help them be just a little bit better?
It's always your fault. It's always your fault. Why you're not where you want to be is your fault. Why you aren't hitting your numbers is your fault. Why you're not making the money you want is your fault.
Yeah.
Any race, any religious background, any level of income, and JT Fox, I believe, really says it best with how I feel is that, you're born broke, but if you die broke, that's your own fault. Jocko Willink says, extreme ownership. And when your mentality of owning up to everything you do without passing blame, and yeah, sometimes the car that came and hit you, it hit you, but had you left the house a little earlier, it always own up to yourself. You feel better at the end of the day because that energy of blaming Champ, blaming Cameron, blaming everybody else removes accountability, which ultimately makes you a really crappy person.
Right.
You're not going to hit the wealth you want.
Yeah. And another thing it does is it puts you in this victim mentality where you go through life and you're always the victim. And so, like you say, there's never an accountability. So you're always looking for people to pour into you, to support you in your victim mindset. And a victim mindset is going to create barriers to your success. I mean,
dude, that is so funny because like we've had friends, I've had family members and friends that I go, oh man, I can't. And you get it sucked into this like, oh, hey, let's kiss the boo-boo, right? And now again, everything is situational, but for the most part, if you jump into a group and you're like, oh man, I couldn't do this because they didn't answer the phone or whatever, I start looking at like, hey man, I do 20 more calls. Like, sucks for you, but keep it going. And then you have those success stories you guys can talk about. Like, that's just me all day.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. But yeah, it's getting people. I love that. It's your fault because if you take accountability, what that does is that keeps you focused on when you talk about focus earlier, it keeps you focused in on solutions, right? And you're not wasting time, on things, largely, things that you're not going to be able to control, right? But if you sit around with the victim mentality, you're just not going to get there, man. It's and so if you're listening to this and you're struggling with that, take a second and you could reach out to myself, you could reach out to Cameron, you could reach out to others. I'd love to to talk with you about it and just listen to you, not me rambling on with you, but I'd love to listen to you and kind of help guide through that. We may need to come in and just have an episode just about that point, because I think we can help a lot of people with that mentality, because that's what when people with that victim mentality, they get offended by um, the progress, the work, and taking accountability. That becomes then offensive to them. And that's something I've learned, even over this last year and even through the Clubhouse experiences, is that there are people that become downright offended to challenging the victim mentality, even when they want to be successful. And that's something I just, I hope that as you're listening, this resonates with you and you can overcome that, because it's a big barrier for a lot of people, I believe.
Yeah, man. If you want to do one all about that, I'm down, bro. But it's been an honor to be up here, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. Cameron J is our guest today, man. Make sure you connect with him. Listen, hit the show notes, Casa de Cameron. Make sure you connect with him on Instagram. Let him know that you heard him right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. Make sure that you keep up with your data. Reach out to him and get the if you'd like to get a discount code for Skip Matrix, definitely do that. Make sure you do that, because data is so important, and it's going to be at the top of your list in terms of growing your business. And if you want to be able to connect with sellers and help them through their situations, such that you can do deals and earn income by helping people. That's a big thing that you do in real estate, and particularly in wholesaling. And so, Cameron's definitely the man to do that. So make sure you connect with them there, man. So listen, with that, we're going to get out of here, man. I appreciate you guys for always supporting the podcast. This was episode 277. We're rolling, on episode 300 is going to be lit. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Awesome.
So, man, I'm going to bring in okay. You don't know who's going to show up for episode 300. So I'm just going to tell y'all right now, I'd love to have you come back. Connect with me, champ10k.com. That's where all my links are. You can link up with me. Love to hear from you, good, bad, or ugly. Love to be able to do that. And man, with that, I'm gonna leave you with what I always like to tell you, man. There's three things that we all have in common. Three things that unite us all, despite all the noise and all the the vaccination talk and all the stuff out of Washington. Listen, there's three things that unite us. We all want to be a little bit better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. And if we can keep that in mind with everybody that we come in contact with, we'll all make this place just a little bit better. But keep that in mind. We all want to be a little bit better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. We may have different thoughts on how we get there, but we all want the same thing. So we're all on the same team. And if we can keep that in mind, again, not to be fluff or BS or whatever, but we can make this place, a little bit better. But stay active, take action, and you're never alone. You've got resources, so reach out to them. Champion on the Minding Your Business podcast.
Awesome.